Well, welcome to this learning session with Professor Robert Clancy. That's not me, I'm John Campbell. In this session, we learn that negative immunity caused by repeated COVID vaccine boosters is real. So rather than giving a positive immunity effect, we get a negative immunity effect. Now, this is notwithstanding the whole host of adverse reactions we know about. They are real, the dangers are real. And sadly, the fatalities have been real. But this is just looking at the potential efficacy, which becomes lower and indeed can become negative over time. So becoming less effective with repeat boosters. And we've got specific data on this, that this is true for hospitalizations. We get negative effect of repeated vaccinations. Now, this is a known fact, and Professor Clancy tells us we shouldn't be surprised by this. For example, he told us that it's well known that if you have an influenza vaccine, and especially if you're exposed to influenza in the meantime, and then have another influenza vaccine the year after, you get a 25% reduced protective effect. So this negative effect, this loss of benefit or reduction of benefit with repeated vaccines is a well-known phenomena. There's down-regulation and suppression of the immunity. And it's a double whammy because you can get down-regulation with exposure to the natural virus itself, and you can get down-regulation with exposure to the vaccines, ongoing exposure to the vaccines. Now, this is a bit counterintuitive because, of course, when we do come into contact with an antigen, we make natural immunity, which, of course, is good. But we need to differentiate between the mucosal immune system and the systemic immune system. So mucosal immunity comes into contact with all sorts of things we inhale, whereas systemic immunity is aimed at sterility. So if you take a blood sample, that should be completely sterile. If you take a bit of tissue from your brain or your liver or your muscles or whatever it is, that should be completely sterile, where, of course, the lungs can't be because they're exposed to the outside air all the time. So we're exposed to dangerous things in the air we inhale, like viruses. We need to make an immunity against those. But of course, we're also exposed to things like pollen repeatedly. And because we're exposed repeatedly, we don't want to have an inflammatory reaction repeatedly. So things we're exposed to repeatedly, the immune system, particularly in the lungs, the mucosal immune system, down regulates the immune response. That's why we're not allergic to lots and lots of different things. So this is completely normal, but it means that it's a bit strange that we're giving all these repeated doses of vaccine. So the mucosal immunity has to be balanced to prevent excess reactions. And that downregulation largely comes from repeated exposure. So for us now, we've been sensitized to previous viruses to an extent because there's other coronaviruses have always been around. And we don't make an immune reaction to the whole virus. We make a reaction to parts of the virus called epitopes. So some of those epitopes are already exposed to. Then we're exposed to SARS coronavirus 2, and we're all exposed now repeatedly. That's not going away. It's now endemic. And we're exposed to the vaccines. So all of these constant exposures, the lung thinks, oh, this is something we're exposed to all the time, and it down-regulates the immune system. There's a net turn-off of immunity. And the dynamic that's talked about here in this clip is that there's the virus and the mutations, because the virus is constantly changing. That means that the vaccine we give, the COVID vaccine boosters that we give are always out of date, probably a couple of mutations ago, and population immunity is increasing. This should be accounted for in people still carrying on recommendations for booster shots. This is not even talking about the dangers of the vaccine. This is just showing the loss of efficacy in protection against infections or symptomatic infections, and protection particularly against hospitalization, which goes down. So we have a negative immunity as a result of repeated exposure and repeated vaccinations. And the authorities in Australia and in the UK have known this for the last 3 years, but it's not being reported. And new vaccine trials have a very limited follow-up time. Yes, there is some antibody response to a new vaccine, but only something like 30 to 40% protection. Now, originally, the studies in Australia at least were done when people were vaccinated before they'd been exposed to SARS coronavirus 2, because Australia's an island. So something like 80% efficacy protection against hospitalization was attained in the very early days in Australia. But of course, that is way, way down now, and it lasts for a much shorter period of time. But the 80% rationale is still being used. The 80% protection rationale is still being used to justify the ongoing vaccination program in Australia with the boosters, and it's just completely out of date. So other studies have been in Australia looking at the balance of any early benefits that there were early on in the vaccination programs versus adverse events, and it shows that the net benefit is negative. So the adverse events for the vast majority of the population, according to these studies and this thinking, was always in the negative side, even though there was some protection against hospitalizations in the early days in the Australian situation in the SARS coronavirus 2 naive population. And now, at the end of this clip, Professor Clancy actually says that new vaccine-induced pathologies are being seen. So that's my learning from what he said. Great to learn from world-leading experts. Let's listen to the clip now. Now, we want to do an update because a lot of people are unhappy about the safety of COVID vaccines, which is one issue. But today I want to focus on the efficacy of COVID vaccines. Now, there's some data being published that shows that COVID vaccines might not be helpful in preventing hospitalizations, but actually causing more hospitalizations. Is this true, and does it make any theoretical sense?
It's a very good question, John, and I think it's an issue that we've really neglected. We often talk about the many adverse events of messenger RNA vaccines, but what has been neglected is what in fact has happened in real life. And this is not a surprise. This is something that should have been predicted right at the beginning. It was something that happened with influenza. It was shown that if you vaccinate a person with influenza and use the same vaccine 12 months later, the amount of immune response is about 20-25% less than you got the year before. In other words, this whole business of down-regulating and suppressing, turning off immunity by too many vaccines combined with exposure in the environment to the COVID virus was predictably going to cause what we're now seeing today.
So we've kind of got a double exposure now. We've got a lot of people still getting these vaccines, and we've got regular exposure to the COVID antigen. How is the immune system reacting to that? And what's this whole idea of negative immunity? How is it occurring on a physiological basis?
Well, there's been a lot of talk around the topic of negative immunity, and I think people mustn't be surprised. There's all sorts of comments that would suggest, oh dear me, we're getting more infections, not less. Vaccines are supposed to prevent, not promote infection. You need to understand the reasons for this. The COVID virus is an inhaled virus. It's not one that gets into the bloodstream as part of its natural pathogenesis. It actually is breathed in and handled by a system we've talked about before, the local mucosal immune system. And the key part and the elephant in the room with mucosal immunology is the fact that it is a very balanced type of immune response and requires to have mechanisms to turn off the immune response so you don't get an exaggerated inflammatory response to every virus and every pollen and everything else that you breathe in. This is quite different to the immune system that's operating in the bloodstream, which is geared to sterility. The bloodstream immunology system is aimed at neutralizing every virus particle, because otherwise you have a system that could be overwhelming and lethal very quickly. So we've got this system. So we know. Now, if you keep getting a particular virus, and remember, the patients all of us who are getting COVID from time to time, have been getting the parent virus, the coronavirus, probably all our lives. So in other words, the body's been sensitized basically to the coronavirus. And so when you get a vaccine which can comprises part of that virus, the spike protein, then you're not essentially immunising in a totally naive way. And so the response you get is not just a good positive response, although initially you will get a positive response, but as experience goes and as you get more exposure to the virus in the environment and as you get more of these booster vaccines, particularly after about 3 of them in a year or two, you actually get a net turn off rather than a net turn on. So instead of getting terrifically vigorous immune response, which initially when the vaccine rollout occurred, there was a very good protective immune response. But progressively, that immune response has become less and less, which means that there's less and less protection from the vaccine. And the dynamic that needs to be understood, John, is a dynamic that involves 3 components. The first component is the virus itself, and the virus is changing. Every 6 months or so, we get a new variant. Yeah. The second variant is the vaccine virus, the virus they put in the vaccine. And despite the warp speed nature of making these viruses, they're always lagging behind. In other words, when a new vaccine comes out, it's usually 2, or very often up to 2 major virus changes away from the virus that's in the community. And the third variable, and this is the one that has not understood and hardly ever discussed, and yet it's so important, is the population's resilience and response, the population's immunity. And so what you've got is 2 major things happening. You've got vaccines continually being given and continually driving down the immune response, while at the same time it's lagging behind the virus that's prevalent in the community. And so when you put these 2 things together, the actual protection becomes progressively less, which is called negative immunity. Now, interestingly, John, I think the first time I saw this, although it didn't surprise me, was in England. And you might remember way back in 2022. It seems like an eon ago, doesn't it? Yeah. 2022. But in 2022, you'll remember that the British government used to publish the protection rates of the vaccine and what was happening. I think basically every week. Then all of a sudden, negative immunity started appearing, and at the same time, so did the reports of what was going on. So the authorities have known about this for 3 years.
Yeah, they just stopped reporting it.
They stopped reporting it. And the same occurred in my own state of New South Wales, when suddenly most of the people in hospital were the vaccinated people as opposed to the unvaccinated. And all of a sudden, our reporting stopped. So we have this system that each time a new vaccine comes out, someone will do a 2-month, maybe 3-month study and show, compared with the 80% protection against hospitalisation and even death when the rollout occurred back in 2021, they get something like 30 or 40% protection. But they only look at it for 2 months. And have you got that graph up, John? Or
yeah, I have. Just before we do that, Robert, why was it that the vaccine in the early days in Australia did seem to be effective, in fact was effective at preventing hospitalisations?
Right. Well, I think 2 things need to be stated. The first is that in Australia, we didn't see COVID virus for well into 2021 because we had lockdowns and we had closure of the country. We're an isolated country, and by closing the borders, we had a big impact on the virus coming. So when the vaccine came out, as opposed to England, where something like 2/3 of the deaths from COVID were already over by the time the vaccine came out. So the vaccine was, and as we were talking about the fact that the vaccine, they were getting negative immunity by 2022. So you'd already been highly sensitised. We hadn't. So up till the early 2022, in other words, a year or so after they brought out the vaccine, Australians were getting very good levels of protection, over 80%, which was terrific. That was great. But then the reality is that when people looked at that, they thought this was great. And as a result of that, the data they obtained back then is still being used today in Australia to recommend going to have more vaccinations. Look how good the vaccination is, way back. But of course, as we'll get on to this in a minute or two, the world has changed, the people have changed, we're no longer naive with respect to the immune response to the virus. But going back to that time back in 2022, there were 3 big studies done, really important studies, which said, let's not just look at COVID immunity and protection against hospitalisation or death. That's important, but let's balance that against the adverse events. And in each of those 3 studies, when they look at the dangers and toxicity of the vaccine against its benefits, which were real, the 3 studies all concluded that the net benefit was negative, that there were more problems from the vaccine than benefits from having the vaccine. Now, that's data that's all published. So
basically that 80% protection was on a completely SARS coronavirus 2 naive population.
Exactly.
So you would expect some benefit there. Actually, interestingly, the vaccines were first sold to us, if you like, as protecting against infection, and then and then the owners, when they realised it didn't do that, the owners changed from no, it protects against hospitalisation, and they used information there from a completely naive population. Another way to look at it for this 80% protection is you could say that you didn't give natural immunity a chance in Australia. Would be another way to look at it. But that 80% that worked on a completely naive population is no way going to be any way applicable now, and the viruses have changed.
In fairness to the whole show, John, we can go back to 2021, the year when they first rolled out the vaccine, and the studies that showed the balance between toxicity and benefit, I'm sure can be argued both ways. And I wouldn't for a moment say there weren't people who benefited significantly from the vaccine, just as other people did not. But that argument is now 3 years out of date.
Yeah.
And now we've got to look at 2025. And there's nothing special. In fact, we may come back to why the messenger RNA vaccine may be particularly damaging in this effect in terms of increasing the incidence of infection compared with, say, a traditional antigen vaccine, or even the DNA vaccines that came out at the same time as the messenger RNA ones. We may come back to that. But so I should have mentioned that that's another factor that we need to put into this particular equation.